All right, you guys. Thanks so much. Hi, everybody. Thanks, everyone. Just check that, yes, you're all on mute. If anybody wants to say anything or interrupt at any given time, you can just hit the space bar and chat. Ty, do you want to give it a test?
I'm not hitting spacebar and saying hi. Hello.
Hi. So that's how you do it. Nice and easy. I'm going to share my screen quickly and take you through the presentation we're doing today. I'm not going to go to my ugly dashboard view. I'm going to go straight to my presentation. More on that in a second. Okay, so the presentation is titled 5 Tips to Present on a Video Call. Obviously, the first question outside of the kind of crisis we're going through right now is, why would we want to do this? Why would we want to present on a video call? And I think there's 4 main reasons why. The first reason is time. What we have found over and over and over again is that when we present online, when we present this way, we actually get through our content in a fraction of the time. So we actually really do find that a meeting, instead of it being an hour long, tends to be 20 minutes long. This is a great thing. And it leads to a second advantage that's time related, and that is scheduling. Because of the scheduling, because you're only asking for 20 minutes, it turns out it's a lot easier to get into somebody's diary. So instead of saying to somebody, hey, can I meet you? Can we have a meeting? They're thinking an hour, and we're trying to schedule 5 people for an hour. Well, it turns out it's not that hard anymore, because now you can schedule 2 or 3 people for 20 minutes, and anybody else who can't make it, that's okay, because they'll get the recording. So they'll be fine thereafter. Of course, this leads to the third point, and that is traffic. You're not going to be sitting in any traffic if you don't have to drive to any meetings. This is also a massive gain of time, and all 3 of these are time related. But I guess the one thing that's relevant now is social distancing. Unfortunately, I'm a big board game fanatic. We won't be playing any Twister anytime soon, but it is a great tool for keeping at a distance. There's no reason that you have to take a knock. So it's pretty important. It can save us time. It can make us better at doing what we do, and yet we still suck at it. And I can't understand why. I mean, I can see people on calls all the time, and they're going through the motions, and you just see these kind of dead, lifeless faces, or you can see people switching out of the presentation mode. And by the way, as a cool little tip, if you're running the Zoom call, there's a setting on the advanced settings on the web where you can see if anyone attention shifts. So if anybody moves Zoom from being their primary screen to being their secondary screen, and they go into Facebook, you can be notified that they've left the meeting. It's a handy tool to pop in there. But people are doing this. They wouldn't do that if you were actually compelling. But we have a different kind of mindset when it comes to presenting this way, and I think it's crazy. So I remember recently I was on a call with a person that is we're presenting to a large group. This person is a highly regarded international speaker, normally really, really kills it. But for some reason, when she was presenting, in this case, it was like she'd reverted 20 steps. She kind of got her screen ready. I'm going to share, and you could see everything that was going on her desktop. And then she found where she wanted to go, and she launched the presentation. Then we waited, and then we could see all the slides, and we went into it. And then the slides were terrible. They were like documents with lots and lots of text. And we're going through bullet point after bullet point after bullet point. And I couldn't understand how somebody who understands presenting would go so far back. Why is it? Because you see, you have to remember that one rule hasn't changed. Your audience is still paying to be there with their attention. And they're spending as much attention if they're sitting in a conference room or if they're sitting on a conference call. And you have to act accordingly. We have to reframe our mind that this is exactly the same and should be taken as seriously as if you were standing on stage presenting to a group of people in a conference room. It's still a conference. Luckily, I've had some experience with this myself. For the last 4 years, I've been in kind of leadership of this organization called EO, and I've managed to, on an almost monthly basis, be delivering presentations online to people from all over the world in all different time zones. And I thought that it would be an opportunity to share with you just some of the learnings I've got. And we've kind of put these down as 5 tips for better Zoom presentations. The first one there is this. You need to prepare the stage. Now, when I'm getting ready to do like a live gig, obviously the first thing, I arrive early, I do my sound check. Same would be here. I get in my earphones. I use the Samsung Galaxy Buds. They're these things here. They're really, really nice. I know a lot of people use the AirPods. This has nice passive canceling and actually works as a microphone as well. So it gives you better audio. you know, there's all the kind of different tools you can use, but I always advise that people make it a rule that they use earphones as well, all participants. The next thing that I do is I try to make sure that my presentation is in full screen mode before I start. So I open PowerPoint, I go run screen show, I get it to the first slide, and then I hit Alt and Tab to go back to Zoom. Then when my turn comes on the presentation to present, I hit share screen, and I just simply select the screen that is the full screen image. It almost is like a second application. So when my screen shares, it's already looking like it was for you earlier. It's already in full screen mode. Then next to me, I get my water, my coffee, I get everything ready to go. You know, I kind of sit here and I propped up my desk and I get my screen ready. If you're presenting like this, it's terrible. Or a lot of people look down on their screen. This is not a good look. I'm 45. This is a shit look, right? You want to try and get your angle right. So I've raised the base of my screen that's presenting. I've got an external keyboard that allows me to do this, and then I can present that way. The other thing I've done is I've got my window lighting well. Look at the difference if I move to here, right? All of a sudden, it's very, very different. And I've given some thought to my background. Now, this isn't ideal. Probably the best situation would be to have this white wall extend the whole way. But I'm kind of a board gamer, and I like the idea that this is a conversation piece and shows up in the shot. And, you know, it's just something there that adds to, I guess, the ambience of it. But I've been thoughtful around the setting that I've tried to create for my presentation, and you should be too. If you were doing a conference, you would set up the room, so why would this be any different? Then it comes to number 2, and this is where I want you to prime your audience. You know, in a presentation, I'm often saying to people that I can't know my audience. What I can do is try and bring them to my level. Now, in this case, one of the mistakes that people often, or one of the things that people don't realize, and I'm sure one of you guys have got this set up that way, is that your presentation, when you see a speaker, the slide goes full screen, and I'm probably appearing in a small little box at the corner. So I would normally do this at the beginning of a presentation, but for the sake of today, I'm going to do this now. What I want you guys to do is to do me a favor. If you just see a big slide and a little me, what I would like you to do is I would like you to go up into your settings at the top of your window, so kind of right up here, and there's a little drop down. Now, if you drop that down, you can select a mode that says side-by-side mode. Now, I always get my audience to do this, and then I ask them to please drag it over so that the screen is about maybe 60% of the slide. If there was a lot of text, in this case, it would be fine to make it 50% to the side, and the speaker is 50% of the screen. So what you now have, you know, the first thing we tell somebody that we're training, a speaker we're training, is that you are the presentation, not your slides. You're the presentation. People are there to listen to you. So by moving that across, it just makes it a little bit easier for you there. Now you've primed your audience has the best chance of success. They can choose, I often will make it myself, they'll have the speaker, I'll put it on view of whoever is speaking. So if somebody else raises their hand and asks a question, then they will then go full screen next to the person there. But you can set up your settings as you decide as an audience member. Which brings me to my next tip, and that's tip number 3, presenter view. Now, I'm forever saying to people that this is the ninja skill of the presenter, knowing what's coming next. On this slide you see right now, you see presenter views where I am, and you see where I'm going to go. Now, I can tell you where I'm going to go. I'm going to go to tip number 4, but I've asked them to take it out because I didn't want to give that away just yet. But in presenter view, the speaker is able to transition and segue from slide to slide very, very naturally. They're not kind of going click, what is the next slide? Okay, right, I want to talk about this. They're able to build up into a slide. Now, it's not so easy for me to do this off a single laptop. Kevin, who runs our training, was telling me that he uses an external monitor, plugs it in. So he gets his full screen view with Zoom, and he also sees his next slide and the slide next to him. That's amazing. For me, as you'll see in this cutaway here, is I've just created a bunch of Post-it notes. I go before my presentation, I lay my Post-it notes out of it, so I know that I am on presenter view now, and I know where I have to go next. So what it is, I can actually start leading in and segueing into this point in a more natural way. One of the hardest things it is to maintain in a video-based presentation is attention. And it's really, really hard for the audience to pay attention the same way that they would if they were in a live event. So it brings me to point number 4, which is this: be brief. You need to be brief, right? You need to show up, you need to speak up, and you need to shut up. You got to get in, say what you have to say, and leave. This is the point, because you're going to lose your audience a whole lot quicker when you're presenting via Zoom. That's it. Show up, speak up, and leave. And then this brings me to point number 5. And I've used it a couple of times throughout this presentation, but it's very, very important now. Is that sometimes, you know, when you're looking, you think your audience is down there, but your audience isn't there, or you find yourself looking at yourself. Have you ever done that when you're on a Zoom call? You actually find yourself looking like, how do I look? When I want to make a big point, though, it's very, very important for me to try and make sure that the audience feels I'm speaking to them. And to do that, you have to do this. You have to look at the camera. That camera. There's a difference. When I'm speaking to people on a stage, I'll often move around while I'm talking and chat to the whole audience and go through them. But when I want to make a big point, I stop and I stand and I look straight at the audience. And if I know it's a big screen, I have to train myself not to look straight at the audience. If I know that I'm put on a live feed, I look straight at the camera, straight at them, because if they're watching that screen, it looks like I'm looking directly into their soul. When you want to make a point, that's where you look. Never forget. And my machine, luckily, when it's recording, there's a small little light that's going there, so I can remind myself to always be looking at the camera. Now, it's unnatural to present that way the whole time, but just when you want to illustrate that point, when you want to make it, that's what you have to do. So those are the 5 points. This is a quick summation of them very quickly. Number 1, prepare the stage. Make sure you're ready to go. Do your sound check, get everything going. Make sure you look okay, test everything, and you're good to go. Number 2, prime your audience. Make sure that they are viewing you the way you want to be viewed, you and your presentation. Help them help you. Number 3 is present to view. Know where you're going next. Set up so you're not going to be confused. You want to make sure that you're kind of delivering in the best possible way. Number 4 is be brief. So I promise you, we're nearly finished. And number 5 is to use your camera. When you're making a big point, you use your camera. So what do I want you to do from here? Well, quite simply, I want you to just go and schedule that call. I want every one of you to get to a client, and I want you to contact them, and I want you to schedule a call with them so that, you actually are put on the spot. There's that great line by Duke Ellington that says, I don't need time, what I need is a deadline. You're going to have to practice this. Luckily, this has all been accelerated. And the best news about practicing this is that's how all presentations work. You practice in public. The way you get better at presenting, online or offline, is presenting. You have to do this more and more and more. And every single time you become a little bit better, every time you'll build a little hook and you'll go out and you'll be a bit better at doing it. So that's it for me. That's the presentation component. Okay, well, now we're going to do the most awkward thing that anybody ever does in all of Zoom, and that is figuring out how to leave. So whatever it is you're going to do to ninja bomb out of this meeting, ninja bomb in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Whoa. Before you go, please remember that this is part of Missing Link's series of how to present like a pro in any situation. Whether it's online or offline, it does not matter. If you want more information, please head to our website, msnglnk.com. Rock on!